Hey everybody, Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. And I'm just kind of going to give you guys a tour. I'm on stage 4 of weeding. So my herb bed's doing pretty good. And I think I've got like 5 different types of sunflowers, so I'm pretty happy. Look at my squish cucumbers, squish. Some of them got nailed by the squash beetle, but I have been thoroughly, going in and getting the eggs off the leaves and just watching for further hatching. Look at this. look at her. She's like right here. Look to there. And she goes to there. And she's all the way over there and over there. So I put a chair by her. I had to look through her last night for the squash bugs. Anyway, my stuff's finally coming along. But we're going to talk about a few things. And while I go that way, this is I try to plant things on the edge when I'm, rehabilitating land or redeveloping it. So these are plants. That's the guy I picked from the river when he was little. Now look at him. He's a gorgeous. I've got to pull the leaves here pretty quick before he goes to seed, so I have some respiratory medicine this winter. Oh, and look, my comfrey, she's finally doing okay. She's doing really good. She loves the mullein. And my lemongrass I planted here. This is something I found on the river that has these little iris-looking flowers. So beautiful. So it's a ground cover. And then the lavender, it's starting to come back. I had to transplant that from somewhere else. And I started putting in, I dug up and transplanted some soapwort. It'll be a really good cover to take out the weeds and stuff as well. And yeah. And this is an interesting plant. I'm not sure what it is, but I dug some of that up from the river because it kind of looked like clover to me. So anyway, excuse me. Look at, I love these wildflowers, especially these guys because they're badass. They got these, ow, super prickly little niblets. So don't know anything about that flower, but been growing it and it's lovely. Love it. So just love the color. And then I've got my big monstrosity flowers that are still growing. You know, the ground, I did grow some potatoes in here. And I got all kinds of flowers jamming in here. So we're going to get a tour of everything that's going on. Look how gorgeous. That's catnip is flowering. It's looking beautiful. And look at these little beautiful buttons. These are Hopi sunflowers. Probably won't get very big, but that's okay. This is a plant that I dug up from the river too. I'm not sure if it flowers or I just liked it. It kind of is a complementary to, I have a few of them. Some of them are doing not as good. And then I have my snap peas, which are still fighting for success, but hopefully they'll reseed themselves. I probably should start collecting. Oh, look, it's starting to finally flower. The flowers were so low that the quail ate them. The quail have decided they love flowers, like my primrose. Yeah, they eat all the flowers off. Look at my mugwort that I took from the river. It's grown huge. It's seeding. It's lovely. My tomato bed. Ooh, look at that, baby. Every day I have to come up. I got a couple more because there's a few that need a couple racks. And I just tether them to each other and to the fence. But they're all heirloom. All different kinds of heirloom. So kind of excited. And I planted strawberry in here. This is why they're doing so good. So you can see strawberry. And there's a strawberry there. So, and the strawberry's doing really well here. So they're all happy. They're doing their little Spock, you know, strawberry plant, tomato plant communication. Plus, we have heavy pollinators right here. These are heavy pollen. And these, we'll talk about corn in just a second. And then we've got these sunflowers. So finally I'm starting to get bees. And a lot of them are native bees. Oh, here, primrose. And so you can see how they ate the flowers. They eat the flowers all off. And then this is the rose plant that I planted from the river. And look, they ate that. Hey. So here we finally have some snap peas, right, that are higher than the quail. So they finally are getting some flowering. But I've got some other, and I planted a whole bunch of catnip all the way down here. I plant where I can water stuff together. And also on the edges, because eventually, you know, the stuff on the edges will seed out into the center. And I have just kind of stations of stuff that I water. So food, herbs, you know, different stuff. So different kinds of stations I water, and then make stations and water. This is so fantastic because all the corn that I'm going to show you is all the same corn, okay? But look, oh, so these indicate how many kernels they're going to be. So depending on how they get pollinated is how many kernels they're going to have in the corn cob. And then, so they kind of have girl and boy parts, right? So that's kind of like the boy part up there. So the thing that's cool about corn is corn can do it all. It does it all. Doesn't need anyone's help. Anyway, so these were red. They're red heads, and those are predominantly kind of white on the top. Remember that. Remember that. But anyway, yeah. So there was a 3-week period. So this is another bed. These are little mulleins I started with seeds. My Thai basil didn't do so good, but it's just been the craziest weather. I had so much stuff bolt early on, which is fine. I'll just collect the seeds from it. I put some arugula in there, marigolds. There's also some pepper plants of different kinds and flowers. And this is one of my stations. This is a big corn station here in the corner. And that keeps it alive. And then here's part of this really old, like 200-year-old maple. And look at that. There's like a perfect, look at the woodpeckers. I just love this. So look at that. It's a perfect little woodpecker hole in the tree. And they're in there. Isn't that the coolest thing? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. There's the corn and stuff. So that's the outside edge that I only just cleaned up. I didn't plant a lot out there. It's too much to do. But you can see how the sun, if you look at this tree, and I've watered her, and you can see how crisp. Oh my gosh. Like the sun, you know, I was thinking that it was the sun that burnt leaves right off of things, even my food. I mean, look at these. These are even kind of in the shade. But we're going to talk about what I think it is that happened. And I think that they sprayed poison in the air. Hi, cutie. And all over. Because I saw it in Reno too, but there's only certain kinds of leaves that picked it up. And it actually killed a lot of stuff. But mostly it stunted, you know, it stunted the growth of stuff for like about 3 weeks. I'm not kidding. Which is, you know, like even more bizarre. All right, I'm working on compost today. I have plenty of dried carbon, and I've been saving, you know, sink stuff. Probably really needs some serious compost. Needs a lot of different stuff, but one day at a time, right? Just trying to get it looking good. And also, you know, plants growing for next year, because whether I'm here or not, the rains and snow, it will, hey, inside over here. Here's, these are cantaloupes I've been trying to grow over here. I've been putting all kinds of different stuff over here to grow, and everything has died. I put a blackberry, died. Some yarrow, died. Sunflowers, died. Primrose, barely holding on. Cantaloupes, jamming along. This is mugwort. Some of them like just curled up and died after the poisoning. Mugwort, I just transplanted there. So, I mean, this fence is not really a fence. It's kind of has open spots in it. And so I focused on trying to plant stuff, you know, up and down here. So next year it'll just be huge, take over. And like this guy's completely burnt. Beans, I mean, look, the beans are just still not, you know, the beans are just still kind of having a rough time. But I don't know if I can see on the beans. There were a splat patterning. And the interesting thing is, like, it didn't hit everything. And it didn't affect everything. But it did kill a lot of stuff. And it did burn some stuff to death. This guy needs to be watered. He's just a little hot. Look at my bee balm. Bee balm is kicking ass. Come on. So yeah, so some of the stuff, like this is one of those things I dug up from the river that's in the back that looks beautiful. None of that stuff got spattered. Okay, here we go. Here's, you know, here's a place that got super spattered. I mean, look at that leaf. And then look at what happened to this plant. And this guy, he got spattered. So you can really see the spattering, you know, from a month ago kind of a thing. And we did get some rain. Like I said, you can even see kind of, even on this chicory, you can kind of see like the spatter marks on some of the older leaves. Spatter marks. Here you can see like it just got the crud burned out of it. And yeah, so there's like different spattering. You can still see a little bit of spattering on that guy, his leaves. And you know, like I've really thought about this because, you know, overall, here's all my lettuce. And you know, it's interesting. So places in the garden that got this early spattering that had stuff growing, it all died. There's a section over there, and I reseeded it, and it still won't grow. So it was like it was thrown from the sky or sprayed from the sky or came in the rain or whatever it was, and it killed. It was like kind of like low-grade napalm. Turd muffin. Hey, Jen. Anyway, and it made everything go to seed. Like my broccoli didn't even really grow broccoli. It forced it to go to seed. So yeah, and you can see some of the spatter marks. Let me see. I might have been picking and pruning stuff out of here. Jen! I have to go looking for my child. I may have been picking out some of that stuff, but in here you could see definitely some spatter marks on stuff, but I think it's grown out since then. Because like I said, 3 weeks, a month ago. So I sat on it and thought about it a lot and kind of did my Gerda work. And you know, just paid attention to everything and, you know, put some information together. And it's interesting, you know, like I think there was bigger, came down, you know, bigger sprays of burning. I mean, look at this guy. And then stuff that was not, you know, and it's also made my cabbage is bolting, but I'm going to eat the leaves. Actually, I'm going to ferment. I'm going to make some, I'll let it go to seed, and then I'm going to do some fermenting, some vegetable fermentation. And, all right, I have to go looking for turd muffin. Jen! Okay, good girl. You didn't come when I called. I had to yell. Okay, thank you. Okay, anyway, turd muffin. This is another kind of flower bed that I started here. And, you know, you saw the clover and stuff that I got from the river and transplanted. It's doing pretty good, actually. Eventually, it'll kind of take over. So this, you know, property really needs some good ground cover. It needs plants that are strong enough to puncture. A lot of the wildflowers I planted did not make it. They just don't, they weren't strong enough to deal with this kind of clay ground. But it needs big plants, small plants, but the only thing that can help this kind of dirt is roots, all different kinds of roots. Oop, here's my lettuce, some of it going to seed. This is a lamb quarter going to seed. I'm going to pull some of it. I don't need that much seed. And here's another flower station that I planted, and things are finally coming up. But here we go. Here is such a good witness of the poison. This plant literally just started growing again this last week. It was like literally stunted. Things either stunted or they die. So you can definitely see. And, you know, most bizarrely, this tree has a lot of new cones. But, I mean, you can't really, there's some other ones that I can't get to. But whatever the poison was that sprayed on them, some of them, you know, are super burned on the top and have spatter. So it's kind of crazy. And then this is another flower station. And I have been letting some invasive weeds grow in there just so that it has roots to get the water into the soil. There's another one of those plants I got from the river that were interesting. We'll see what it does. I mean, you can always pull stuff out if you don't like it. My lemon balms, not doing too bad. Ground rosemary got stunted. Lots of stuff. I mean, look at my strawberries. I mean, my strawberries got totally crispified, but I had them somewhere else, and they had a lot of leaf spatter. So I moved them under here. Plus, it'll be like a good place for them. And I'm going to be working on weeds and compost today. Okay, so big thing that got annihilated from the stuff is my potatoes. For whatever came down from the sky. And I mean, you can see like this tree, like there's parts of this tree that got spattered and like just totally keeled over, where other parts, you know, kind of survived, you know, some of the spattering. I mean, look at that. Look at, that's from water. See that? See that? They're like water droplets. So this tells me, like, you know, in the water, in the spray. And that's why Mr. Poole was probably like, you know, stay indoors like 3 weeks ago. So my potatoes, some of them are just starting to come back. but whatever that spray was, it for sure targeted potatoes. It was like a destroyer of potatoes. My potatoes, go back and look at videos and how great they were. Okay, so this one is just starting to make his way back. And I just want to show you splatter. You can see like it's drops, and it took me a while to figure out what was kind of going on, right? And that why everything would have stunt growth. This stuff has not started regrowing yet, but it's starting. So you can see the splatter, like splatter marks. And yeah, so, oh, this one has super splatter marks. And it doesn't have fungus, no mold. Like, you know, I went through everything. This is like new growth. You can see the difference in the new growth. But some of the stuff isn't sure if it's gonna die or, you know, if it's gonna come back. This stuff over here did pretty good against it. You can see over here that was splatter, some splattering on these guys. These guys have not grown. They're just started regrowing. They were stunted for weeks. But these guys, you know, these guys for some reason, you know, handled the spray splatter better. And, you know, I think it has to do with these are Hopi sunflowers, and they have different genetics in them. They have the original genetics, and they were designed to be able to be planted when there wasn't anything left on this planet. You know, it was completely nuked and dead. Because a lot of like native seeds, which are, you know, way older than heirloom. Heirloom is still kind of, you know, hybrid-y. You know, they can grow in no water. I mean, the Hopis grow with like 0 water. And they grow corn and squash and beans. Look, woohoo! See how I planted it, kind of piggybacked it where I was going to water. So that way I save and conserve water. Look at, that's my Armouth. Aren't they gorgeous? Yeah. The birds are going to have lots of yum-yums. There's a lavender I transplanted. Just, it was like, it was doing so beautiful and had flowers. It's Spanish. I think it's my Spanish one. And then 3 weeks ago, it just pretty much keeled over and stopped flowering, which is bizarre because it's the middle of summer. And I wanted to show on, so you can see splattering on these guys too. See that? Like the newer leaves, you know, no splattering. Older leaf, chemical splattering. And the corn survived pretty good. So I wanted to kind of show like the worst case scenarios. I mean, some of these spots were, see where the water ran off of the leaf? And look at what the chemical left there. The droplets in the water. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just providing you information from stuff that I saw. Here's one of those, you know, super stunt leaves right there that has a lot of spray on it. And then this guy has like, you know, if you really go back to where, you know, he was first growing. I mean, look at that, how crazy that is. I mean, look at the spatter on that guy. You know, and see how it ran off, kind of like, you know, you could see. Anyway, the new stuff is looking pretty good. But this is all the new growth here. The rest of it had been stuck. Didn't even have any little stuff growing inside. Was stuck for 3 weeks. So some of this was disabled. Some of it, because of the chemicals on it, was burned to death. And some of it killed. And some of it stunted its growth quite a bit. So, okay, I want to show you how cool this is with the corn. So this is the same exact corn as back there. So this goes to show you that environment matters. What's growing around it matters. What kind of relationships to other plants matters. Sunlight matters, water matters. Sunlight, a lot of sunlight during the day, a lot of sunlight during the afternoon. But this is the same exact, it's a hybrid corn. And it is the same exact corn, but back there. And so you get to see, you know, how different things cause different stuff. So it's the same one, it's a hybrid. You can grind it for flour, you can eat it, super good one. Non-GMO hybrid, and also really good for popping, super exceptional popping corn. It's one of the reasons I grew it, was I like a lot of popping corn. So I can harvest dry it and harvest it, and then I'll have lots of corn to pop, which will be fantastic. Okay, so here's the bombshell. This corn is switched its roles. So it's switched its roles. So how on the other corn, on the woman part, it was red. And then on the top part, it was white. So on this corn, on this side, this top part is red. It switched the role. And then the corn, the girl part, she's white. Don't you love it? It's the same thing. I just love it. But because of the environment and whatever else is going on, you know, but you can take the same seed, put them in different locations, different water, different times of light during the day, different dirt conditions, and, you know, they'll kind of grow into something else. Yeah, it's just, I love it. It's mind-boggling. Okay, so now we're heading into the last part of the video. And I kind of wanted to talk about co-creation, creation, creator. You know, stuff that I've kind of like talked about in my past videos. But I want to explain something. So the creator, the creators, whoever that designed this reality, left nature, you know, left plants. And in my teachings from my native teachers, that all of this was the library that was left by the creator for us to learn. Oh, look, it's a cave dweller. And that's why I really like plants. I like seeds. I get nerded out about, you know, different kinds of things. So I thought I'd come over here and kind of let you guys get a closer look of my princess squish, because she is a grand, behold, she grew no matter the chemicals, no matter the spray, and she is glorious. And I just want to show you. Oh, what's that? That is a pumpkin, my friends. All right, so we'll watch her kind of wave around in the breeze while I finish this video. Maybe we'll catch some bee action, because man, the native bees are so happy. So glad to see them in my yard. There were 0. And anyway. So co-creation's like a different thing than people think it is. And I was thinking this morning about, you know, there's something that I kind of want, and I would really like to get my own property. I'd really like to throw pottery again. I'd really like to have a place where I can grow all kinds of herbs and the seeds, so I save them from around the globe and have just a permanent place, to call my own away from people. And so that way I can focus in on my projects and then also some hobbies and relaxation. And so really letting the whole thing go, thinking about it, ruminating over it a bit, even did a little meditating, and then ultimately decided to let it go. And the image I got was of Michelangelo. One of the things that Michelangelo supposedly is quoted in saying is that he, would take these huge pieces of marble, and he said what it was to be was already there. All I did was chisel it out. And then I was thinking about how growing plants is the same way, or cultivating, environment and soil, and that you get sent to the place that needs it. Then information comes to you, you start practicing with it, but you ultimately have to plant it. And then, creation will help you design it, will design itself. Now, I want to tell you, I didn't plant any of those 5 sunflowers there in the herb bed. Those things just came up on their own. It was, so bizarre. But what blew me away the most was, how much that herb bed was going to need those sunflowers. And what I marvel in is how amazing that creation placed them exactly where they needed to be for me to care for them. So between me and creation, working together, I plant the seed, I do the watering. I'm Michelangelo. And this is how we co-create. This is co-creation at its best. I do the work, and nature creates the design. I do the work, and so just with everything. So I was thinking about, there's a specific property that is up for sale that, I'm highly interested in, but, it's a cash-only property, and you can't get loans right now for a property. So I just thought, okay, all I can do is go, hey, yeah, I, love this property. So the marble shows up in my warehouse. I'm Michelangelo. I sit on it for a few days looking at it. And then, I basically think about it, ruminate over it, allow my consciousness to intermingle. And then the path is shown. And my hands become the tools of the creator and co-creation to manifest and make something in this reality. So I realized something really big about this world, even though I really hate this world and I'm really disturbed by this world, is that this world provided me with the gift of learning how to not allow my body to be habitated or possessed or any of that kind of crap, but to be utilized, to be used like a tool to create with creation the probabilities, potential, and possibilities. The fragile, I'm creating a fractal. And what does this fractal respond to? What will my fractal, planting, because it, is the creator that gave me the idea about doing these mounds here. because I could create these mounds that I water, which also are going to help to water, you know, these trees. And you can tell because look, the root system of the cottonwood's coming up there. So they are utilizing this mound field, and also is helping them to be watered. It also is really hard ground. So creating these mounds and places that I could fill up the water. I'm not wasting water. The water is going to targeted areas. And, you know, I'm creating food. Like, you know, I would always grow squash in a mound, right? But the idea of mapping, you know, this out, and how I kind of designed it. So it kind of served the purpose of all things, you know. So it takes some of my education, and then I open my mind, ruminate, allow, you know, co-creation to ruminate in it. And, you know, like these mounds over here having a more difficult time. It's hot. This ground has been, you know, this summer at times like 104 degrees. So, and then squash bug infiltrated there. And, you know, things got burned. Like, I was just going to see if you can see. Yeah, here we go. Here's more of that, you know, like chemical burning from the water. That guy was really small. He's really taken off. But you can see how this guy has the chemical burning. So he was super stunted for like 3 weeks. Now everything's starting to grow. So anyway, that's what I suspect. This is the poisoning. But anyway, you are the Michelangelo. This thing is really taken off in like a week. So good. And this guy. And this guy. So beautiful. I mean, look at the fractal patterns, you know, on this food. I'm eating a fractal. And then I developed a fractal system with co-creation to serve a purpose. And if you go back to my videos, you'll see that I did some earth acupuncture, AUP. I call all my work AUP. Yeah. Anyway, I think about this. So in the carbon, so one of the things that Rudolf Steiner talks about, I just want to go back and show you the redheads, right? Contrast, change, shifting. This is why plants have adaptogens, and when we eat them, when we grow them, and we eat them locally, that they help us to adapt because they're adapting to situations and scenarios. Johnny on the spot. But same seed, same plant. They're cracking me up. They caught me off guard. They were seeing if I was paying attention. So, you know, Steiner talks about carbon being the form. It is how the form of us, this world, and things were created. Carbon decides the form. So the carbon, the seed, grew the form. Silica is the structure. It's what holds it together, gives it a backbone, including us. But within all that, the two things, consciousness, adaptability, willingness to shift and change, adjust genetically and DNA-wise at any moment. This is why we're supposed to eat plants that we grow. So it can give us the information that our slow, dense, and lethargic human systems don't really pick up. I love this tree. And you can see she got just chemicalized and scorched. Especially, you know, where that water was dropping off some of the edges of her leaves. The several days of rain we had. Yeah. Anyway, last lesson is, you know, you can see that people like cut this tree to death because of the power lines, just destroyed her. And that's karmic. So sad. There's this really great Aborigine story that they don't cut down the trees is because in their world, the grandmothers of their people stayed to watch over them in their spirit. So their spirit didn't go to heaven. They didn't have that belief system. The spirit inhabited the trees so that the grandmothers could continue to watch over generations. So they don't cut down trees. But this tree, you know, it was just slaughtered by the damage. And she just fights and grows and, you know, provides a woodpecker family a home and fights and thrives, you know, against all odds. Her will to exist. And I think about that. The plants have these really strong wills to exist, more so than we do. Because any little boo-boo or trauma or anything that happens to in our life, we take it so personally, right? And we just can't get over it. We can't move on. And I just kind of wanted to show, there were a couple sunflowers that had a really hard time because, you know, their wind was super hard on them and they got like mashed down. Did they give up? No. Look at this guy. Look at him. He's all twisting and turning, but he's going. He's going towards the light. Look at this guy. He got like mangled down. See his little stem and his little head. And he's perched for greatness. He will finish his job. These ones got mangled down. And look at them. They're still fighting for the light. They're still fighting to live out their divine process, their destined plan. And they're going to do it no matter what. And I think, you know, plants give me courage to head up towards the light. Head up, not looking down. Head up. Look at these guys. They're all pointed towards the sun in the morning. I love it. So they help me. They show me the light. And they tell me never to give up and to keep going and follow your will. Look at my little beautiful squash plants. Let's see. Let's sneak up and see if there's any bees in them. I don't see anything, but oh, she's a gorgeous beauty. She's a gorgeous beauty, living one moment in time. Her lifespan is a couple days, but she gives us everything in that couple days. So, yeah. This one's pretty interesting. This one got really, it was laying down from the wind. You could see like the crookedness, right? She actually lifted herself up, strengthened her stem, and stood back up. Her roots were even out of the ground, but she pushed those roots deeper and stronger into the ground and pulled herself up. But if I hadn't been watering her, hadn't been watching out for her, this wouldn't have been possible unless I wasn't here and there was a lot of rain. So it's either me or the Creator that takes care of her. But she moved against odds. It was over. Her life was over. She was uprooted. She was laying down. The wind had cracked her like a nut. And she stood back up with force because of the will. All right, everybody, that's it. Let's smell the peppermint. Smell the peppermint. I'm gonna have a little peppermint niblet. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah. Oh, look at the basil is even showing us. The older part, we can see the spatter from a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It's just interesting to me. Yeah. Just interesting to me. Oh, and hey, look at my lemon balm. Ooh, it's looking good. Hopefully it'll just keep growing now. Ooh, sweet mint. Lots of this stuff I'm gonna harvest for teas and stuff like that for the winter. Lemon balm, she's gonna get her own tincture. I think I'm gonna do some hydrosol with that peppermint. Oh, can you imagine spraying that lovely hydrosol on your face every morning? Maybe if she flowers, I'll do it. All right, this is the end of our tour. And finally got a relax station up, which is good. I'm going back to reading, so I don't have a computer. And I'm just fatigued at the end of the day after all the weeding and growing and weed pulling. And so that's my little station. I got that. And I put those little pillows there. And I bring out my book and I read for at least an hour sometime during the day. And it is a blessing to be able to have just a reading spot. So anyway, everybody, have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Blessings. Co-creator out.